I'm sure you've heard talk about contracts in BDSM. Maybe this intrigues you. Maybe it confuses you. Maybe it overwhelms you. Maybe, like me, it even repulses you to some degree. Well, you're certainly not alone in that. And I, your local neighborhood dominatrix, am here to chat you up about it. So get yourself a warm or cold beverage, snuggle in, or assume the position, which is on your knees for you faithful subby listeners out there. Let's get into it. Hello, my pets, and welcome into The Dungeon, the podcast for submissives to learn, grow, be entertained, and to ultimately find empowerment in their lifestyle. I'm your host, KatNash, the Music City Dominatrix, and today we're talking about something that can seem polarizing in the community and even within relationships. Contracts. I get it. I was opposed to the idea for a long time. I didn't even want to consider a contract. When a long-term dynamic that I was in met its end, I began to really start to see the value in having a contract. That femdom and submissive dynamic that I had was based solely on just what I said. There were assumed roles that we had owned and some that we had played. We ended up with no boundaries, no structure, enmeshed, and both deeply unfulfilled. In retrospect, I can see that we could have mitigated all of these ill effects if we had only had a contract. After that, I entered into a female-led relationship. This one included protocol and structure. But again, my lazy ass didn't draw up a contract. And man, I will not enter into any sort of connected dynamic again without a contract. But even having said all of that and come to the conclusion that I need to use one going forward, there's still something so opposing to the idea within me. I think that it's the strictness, the rigidity that the word contract imposes. If you are like me and balk at this word and the feeling it cultivates in you, I want you to make this perspective shift with me right now. Don't see it as like a written in blood contract. Let's shift to think of it as a relationship outline, because really that is what it is. You're outlining the energy of your relationship. You're creating a structure for your lives. You are defining your roles and expectations. And from there, you will be able to sink more fully, more vulnerably, more honestly and authentically into yourself and your partner. Yes, it is creating boundaries, but with boundaries, you are actually both more free. I mean, it seems paradoxical, no? Well, defined boundaries create freedom, but it's true. Without boundaries, people overanalyze, they second guess themselves. Are they being too much, not enough? They suppress their needs, they fear upsetting each other. And while communication does go a very fucking long way in mitigating these issues, having a relationship outline, aka a contract, can help cut down on the need to continue to have repeat conversations. With boundaries, the expectations are visible. Communication is clearer, cleaner, and there's so much less emotional labor for both parties. Submissives feel the benefits from boundaries because they know what's expected. They know what's allowed. They know what's off limits. They have a structure that minimizes their guesswork about what their dom is wanting from them and out of the relationship. Dominants experience freedom with boundaries and this whole outline contract thing I'm talking about because they feel like their leadership is welcomed and respected. There are not constant battles, struggles, explanations. The amount of mental and emotional energy to upkeep the dynamic with a submissive is greatly minimized. Really, it makes the relationship sustainable. The certainty that comes with a well-defined and structured relationship, like the boundaries, the contract, it allows you to surrender more fully into it. So all these buzzwords that I'm using, contracts, boundaries, structure, they're all kind of the same vibe that's creating a strong, solid foundation for your dynamic. Maybe you're saying, well, fuck, Kat, I'm already in a relationship and we didn't create a contract or structure when we started. Or maybe you're in a vanilla relationship and are ready to begin transitioning over to a female-led one, or to create a more BDSM style relationship. Or perhaps you're single and you know that you only want a female-led relationship going forward and you want to be ready to make it a strong and lasting one. Well, have no fear, mon chéris. I'm here to guide you step by step into creating that contract or that structure that you are craving. And like my last episode emphasized, a female-led relationship is not one size fits all. Each one will look different because no two women are the same. What they want, dislike, love, desire, appreciate, everything is going to be individualistic. And likewise, so will your contract. So what I'm going to do is walk you through different categories. These are different areas of your life or your relationship that you may or may not want influenced or dictated by your BDSM relationship. These are potential areas to outline the structure. And I want you to take some notes and write these down as we go through them, and also jot down any additional ones that come to mind. And please feel free to share them with me. I want to hear what else you may come up with. But you're going to write down these categories so that you and your partner can go through each of them and discuss. If you're single, I want you to do this too, because I want you to be perfectly fucking clear what sort of dynamic you are craving, even before you start seeing someone. Because you know that boundary thing I was talking about? Yeah, it can be really fucking easy to throw your personal boundaries right out the fucking window when you put on those rose-tinted goggles that come with being in love or infatuated with someone. And I want you to be strong in your desires and boundaries for your sake and for the sake of your partner. Hearts are at stake here, my lovelies. This is serious. So here we go. The main categories, and I'll get into the explanations of each along with detailed examples in a minute, but the categories that I've come up with are: number 1, structure and discipline; 2, service and devotion; 3, household; 4, finances; 5, personal development; 6, appearance and presentation; 7, sex, intimacy, and kink; 8, boundaries and safety; and 9, rewards and discipline. Now let's get into each of these, some examples you can use, and how to actually create a structure, outline, or contract, however you want to phrase it, with your partner. First of all, it's going to take communication. If you've never thought of some of these aspects before, you may want to before having a conversation with your person. Adversely, you could just dive right in together and figure it out along the way. However, just make sure that you both feel safe enough to speak honestly. Like, if you're a submissive, don't just give answers that you think will please your dom. When creating a contract is not the time to just try to please her. This is the time for honesty and transparency. The pleasing the dom will come once the relationship is structured and each have agreed upon the dynamic and boundaries. Then you work at pleasing her within that container. But when you're creating the outline, your main objective is to honestly communicate. And that goes for doms too. Don't just try to be what you think your sub wants. I want you to get honest and clear about what you're interested in, what you like and dislike, not what you think they want or how you're supposed to be. Okay? Make sure that both of you are in a good headspace, not hungry or under the influence, not arguing or stressed. This needs to be time set aside for the purpose of investing in your relationship, not like on a stressful drive to the in-laws' house or something, understand? Have paper or whatever you journal or take notes in handy. The first thing you want to establish is, what is the purpose or intent of your dynamic? Is this a long-term relationship, a female-led marriage, a slave and owner dynamic? Is there a known expiration date on your relationship? I mean, you don't really have control over what your relationship will evolve into, but you should be open and somewhat symbiotic in your goals. For example, if the sub is viewing the femdom as a teacher to introduce them into the world of BDSM and kink, and the femdom is seeing the sub as a potential long-term female-led relationship marriage material, y'all need to discuss these incongruencies. You should have shared values and a shared mission. What is it? What is your mission? Is it to have a connected, loving DS relationship? Is it to help each other level up? The femdom motivating and doming the sub into becoming the best version of himself, and the sub supporting and encouraging the femdom to reach her ultimate success goals? Is it to simply be and love and thrive while exploring each of your own innate tendencies within the safety of your dynamic? So these are just some examples. Create a mission statement that you both like and agree upon. Sometimes it helps to declare the emotional tone of your relationship. Is it devotional, where the sub lives and breathes in devotion and tribute to his owner? While he may work an outside job and have hobbies and interests, he emotionally orbits around his goddess. Is the emotional tone playful, like best friends who laugh and play and joke and tease a lot? Is it erotic? Is the main focus in your dynamic being sexual? And none of these are better than the other. They just be clear on who you are and what your relationship vibe is. It can include aspects of all of these things, of course, but get clear on what the main energy you wish your dynamic to illustrate. Next, I want you to get clear on your roles. What is the power structure? For example, what is the scope of the female leadership? Define what the submissive's role is. What is the decision-making hierarchy? Does the woman make all the final decisions? Does she dictate big decision-making to him? And this can be different in different areas. For example, when it comes to their social life, the sub takes a more equal role in decision-making, but the female makes all the financial decisions, So for each category listed before that I'm going to explain further in a moment, you can decide whether you even want that area of your relationship to be dictated or whether you want it to be autonomous. It can be a lot, especially if you're diving right into a female-led relationship or whatever your particular dynamic is for the first time. You may want to write these down and only choose one or two areas to begin incorporating into your life. See how that goes and add more. You'll probably find that some of these rules, decisions, or protocols don't actually serve you. And that's something I really want to emphasize to the Dom. Sometimes we make rules and protocols because they sound good. But if it's not something that you find genuinely useful or get pleasure from, then I recommend you just ditch it, Especially if it's one of those things that you think are essential because of whatever preconceived notion you have in your mind that your role embodies. Like, don't peg a guy simply because you think that's what a femdom does. By all means, do it if you want to, but you don't have to. Submissives, you don't have to foot worship just because you're a sub or clean. And a submissive to a femdom doesn't automatically have to do chores for her. That's not a given. I know femdoms who are very repelled by the idea of having a submissive clean for them. As always, BDSM, power dynamics, they're extremely individualistic. So really ask yourself if what you are creating serves you. Okay, now let's dive deeper into each of the subcategories that you may or may not choose to include in your relationship structure. First off, structure and discipline. This is the basic outline of expectations. It could include daily routines. This is what our day looks like. Or if you don't live together, something like we spend weekends together where we're fully in our individual roles as dom and sub. During the week, there are daily check-ins and expectations. That's just one example. Structure and discipline could include accountability systems. When you check in, updating on if you've done particular tasks, it's check-ins. Journaling, perhaps. This is kind of getting deeper into what each of your expected roles are. Establishing discipline is pretty important too. When there are known consequences for specific actions, it really clears up confusion and unknowingness in the dynamic. Like if one of your duties is to clean and service my car the first Saturday of every month, and that is something that's important enough for me to put it in the contract, then if you fail to do that, what's the repercussion? An additional chore? You have to buy me a gift card? Are punishments something humiliating? Something that serves the femdom? Is it additional work? I would like to recommend that whatever the punishments are that you come up with, it is, number one, not a punishment. For example, if the sub loves impact, I wouldn't use that as a punishment. They're just going to increasingly fuck up and have no actual accountabilities. Find something that will put the dom in a slightly better mood and make the sub hurt just a little, This serves to lessen the frustration or disappointment that the dom is feeling, while also making the sub truly want to avoid making that mistake again in the future. Having said that, it's true that positive reinforcement is a far better teacher than punishments. And this applies to BDSM relationships as well. Some femdoms may really dislike punishments at all and decide that they will merely communicate their displeasure, and instead of using their energy to direct focus and attention to the positive behaviors that they would like to see more of. I'm too much of a bitch for this one, but I can definitely see some people including no discipline or punishments in their contracts. Next is service and devotion. This is rituals, protocol. Now, these things may seem silly or like they don't really serve you, but creating some rituals and protocols can go a really long way in maintaining a deep connection within a dynamic. I have a greeting protocol, sub on his knees, and a mantra of devotion. If we are in public, he kisses the back of my hand and looks me in the eyes, and I know that he's thinking the mantra, I live to serve my goddess. This sets the tone for our time together. It's a simple and easy way to remind each other as soon as we're together of what our roles are. And I don't mean roles as in acting. We each hold, every single one of us holds several roles in our lives, whatever our job position is, the role of a child to our parents, maybe we are a parent, the role of a friend, the role of a client, the role of a boss. These aren't things that we act as, but they are facets of self. And your role in your relationship is another one of those. So anyway, perhaps you have bedtime protocols. Perhaps his service is texting good morning and good night and mantras. So that was service and devotion. Next is financial leadership. Okay, who makes money decisions? Are you each autonomous? Does someone get an allowance or tribute? Does the dom restrict the sub's spending? Adversely, if a femdom is horrible with money, she may wish for the sub to control the finances. Like, I don't even want to deal with any of that, This would be for her benefit or the couple or marriage's benefit. Who budgets? Or is money not a shared aspect of your lives? Perhaps your money is none of each other's business, but the dom sets financial goals for the sub. Or perhaps the sub supports the dom in her goals, acting as an accountability buddy and cheerleader. Does the guy always pay when they go out to eat? Does the woman? The next area I want to discuss and plot out in your contract or relationship outline is personal development. And this is a big one for me. Personal growth is a passion of mine, both for myself and others. Something I personally thrive at is looking at someone's life and seeing how they can level up in whichever ways. The simple steps to take to change their life. So maybe it's in the contract that they have to work out 5 times a week. Maybe it's that they have to read one assigned book a month. Perhaps the sub has to listen to certain meditations or podcasts. Maybe there are assigned classes or workshops, goals, both individually and as a couple. Maybe they choose goals in the contract that they work on together, whether that's financial goals that result in a dream vacation, fitness goals to become an it couple, friendship goals to create a community or tribe, skills that you both wish to develop. Put it in the fucking contract. And don't just put it in the contract, make it specific. How often are you taking steps towards your goal? What's the deadline? There are so many areas of potential control and growth in the personal development area. Even things like bedtimes, when you wake up, diet, phone limitations, video game restrictions. I feel like most people are so fucking unhealthy and feel stuck. A relationship can either magnify your stagnancy or it has the potential to rocket you both to success in whichever areas you desire. The next area of life and your relationship that you could consider is appearance. Does the femdom want to dictate the sub's appearance? Hair length, facial hair, pube status, clothing style, underwear. All of these are areas in which I personally have had a say in my relationships in the past. If the dom doesn't really care, perhaps basic hygiene makes it to the outline. I don't know, you might need to. Perhaps a particular cologne. Honestly, the sky is the limit. And if it's not that important, it doesn't need to make it to your contract. However, if you are just starting out on your journey, something relatively small and easy like dictating personal appearance can be a fucking fantastic place to begin. There aren't super high stakes, and it's typically not very psychologically involved, yet it is definitely powerful in its representation. My next topic is sex, kink, and intimacy. And it is good to put this in the outline. Will there be sex? What is sex to you guys? Are orgasms involved? Can a guy jerk off or get off without the femdom? Is there going to be pegging? Is oral a requirement, say once a week? Intimacy and kink makes it into this category. So I've found that when one partner is more into kink, especially if it's the submissive, it can be really challenging to ensure that their needs are getting met. Talking about expectations and desires up front is essential to avoid resentment from both parties. That statement goes for literally everything we've talked about, but I found that it seems particularly poignant when kink and sex are involved, especially if the nature of the relationship is not vanilla. How often will you be scening? Is there some sort of kink play daily, weekly, when you can fit it in? Weekends? One session a month? What is realistic based upon your desires and lifestyles? Put that shit in the contract, okay? Or rather, the outline, because contract sounds so set in stone. Ugh. Just the nature of the word outline feels much less intimidating to me. Some people love contracts. They love that shit. I'm not one of them, but I'm going to learn to. Lastly, you will want to go over and get in writing your boundaries, your limits. Hard limits are the things that you absolutely have no interest in. Don't even suggest that shit fucking ever, you know? Soft limits are things that you aren't interested in now, but you may be curious about in the future. Like, that doesn't sound like a good time to me at all, but if you love it, I may consider this option in the future if the circumstances are right. Talk about safe words. Figure out what you will say if you need a pause in the dynamic so that it's not just automatic ending, you know? If there are any mental health considerations, this should probably be put in the contract, and emphasize that consent revocals, which are valid and need to be respected. I feel like I may be missing some possibilities here, but these are just the ones that I can think of right now. And I feel like my brain is kind of turning to mush today. I'm done. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode. I hope it has inspired and motivated you to level up your dynamic or plant the seeds of what is possible in your future. You can find my personal offerings at my website, www.KatNash.com. You can email me directly, thewildcreatrix@gmail.com. Yeah, and until next time, stay kinky, my pets.